What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the A Show with the Kings of Pro Wrestling Podcasts. I am Justin, here with Meelz. What's going on, Meelz?
Hey man, just here being I don't know, rich baby daddy. Is that what we're doing now?
Yeah, that's what we doing, baby. We toxic in here, baby.
In this post Drake universe, this post for all the dogs universe, we're here. I just have to say, I tasted a prebiotic soda.
Prebiotic or probiotic?
Prebiotic.
What is the prebiotic from probiotic?
That's a good question. I didn't. It says prebiotic right on the can, so I'm not prebiotic versus this. Is this going to be like flammable versus inflammable type of thing?
Yeah, it might be.
Probiotic are food supplements that contain um, live microorganisms intended to maintain or improve good bacteria in the body. Prebiotics are foods that act as food for human micro. All right, this doesn't. I need like the 7th grade description.
You drinking some wild shit just to stay buff. Let me tell you.
There ain't no buff here. I'm telling you that right now. The buff is the stuff and the buff gone.
Meelz is a wrap. What happened?
No, I just haven't. I mean, I run, but I haven't gone to the gym and like I haven't actively gone to. I haven't actively been in the gym consistently since like before the pandemic.
Mm-hmm.
Like usually I'll go and then it'll be like, okay, I'll do this, and then like 3 weeks later something will turn up. I need to watch some kid or work will ramp up or something along those lines, and I just fall off and don't want to do it again. And then also I like running. I find running way more of a challenging than lifting up heavy shit and putting it down. Because I'm not good at running, but I'm good at lifting up heavy shit and putting it down. So I like to challenge myself with runs more. But now that it's getting colder, I'm going to take my workouts back to the gym instead of running. And then maybe in the summer, I'll get back on my run shit heavy again. Just to challenge myself more. But yeah, I'm definitely not buff. But this, listen, back to what I was saying. Prebiotic soda. Not bad.
Is
25
it like
calories.
like carbonated?
It is carbonated. 25 calories, 5 grams of sugar, which is a big plus. Because most soda, American soda, not your Japanese soda that you've learned to love, but most American sodas have at least like 37 grams of sugar in it. Some crazy amount where they pour in, like you pour 37 grams of sugar into a cup and they're like, this is the soda you drink every day. And I'm like, damn, delicious. But yeah, it's valid. There's only a couple brands that are prebiotic sodas. I'm drinking Poppy, Poppi.
Not the artist who always shows up on NXT, which we're gonna talk a little bit about NXT
We'll
today.
definitely talk about it. We got plenty to talk about this week. I mean, the show hasn't happened yet, but we still gonna talk about it.
You're like 2 hours away from D-Day.
Yeah, right? Like, where do we stand? You know what? It's gonna be an interesting conversation. But anyway, it says infused with apple cider vinegar, prebiotics for a healthy gut, an immunity sidekick, and a natural caffeine. And you know what? The orange one tasted orangey. It didn't taste like orange soda because obviously there wasn't this like concentrated sugar rush shit that you get from orange soda, but it still tasted like orange. So, albeit more expensive than regular soda, it might be the wave.
Where can I find it? Where can I find this at? This sounds like this is an ad, by the way.
Target. I think you can get it at Target. I'm pretty sure you can get it on Target. It's definitely on Amazon too, but I'm pretty sure you get it at Target. Do you guys have Targets?
Yes, man. What?
Okay, all right.
Come on,
y'all got Walmarts and shit, right?
That is biggest. We have both. That
okay.
is the biggest.
I don't have Walmart.
that is like the craziest thing is the do you have this in California? Talk. Like it is just the most insane thing. Like yes, we have everything. Like Mark was out here last week.
Okay.
And he was staying with me for a week, and we were driving, and he was like, "Oh, that's Carl's Jr. I never had Carl's Jr. before." And I was like, "It's just Hardee's." I was like, "It's literally just Hardee's. It's Hardee's with burgers."
Do we have Hardee's over here?
Well, I mean, like a southern kind of like mid-south type thing, also. So like the Carl's Jr. in the West Coast, they don't have the chicken and they don't have like that breakfast menu that you have at Hardee's. And obviously this is completely you're oblivious to this meals because I don't think you have Hardee's regardless
No,
of.
we don't have Hardee's. I
But
just looked it up.
it's a southern chain that kind of is on the West Coast as well, but the West Coast version has like burritos and tacos and burgers and like
Mm,
sandwiches and stuff. And the southern one has like these bomb ass cinnamon raisin biscuits. And anyone who's listening that's from the South, you know about these. If you're on the Patreon, leave a comment because I miss those so fucking much. And they had like the fucking frosting on it, so amazing. But it's just funny that people like from region to region, people are like, do you have this? It's like, oh, I'm like, we pretty much have like the universal, like everything that you guys have, minus like White Castle, I think, and Crystal Burger.
yeah, we're not missing. We're not missing anything with White Castle. What did we have? What did just came up in New York that I'm pretty sure you guys had that we never have? What's that? Is it Vietnamese? Jojo
Oh, Jollibee. It's
Jollibee. There we go.
Filipino, by the way, not
Oh, I'm
Vietnamese.
sorry. I'm
Yeah.
sorry. I was watching a TikTok that said something with Vietnamese the other day, like 10 minutes ago. We just got one of those, but they put it in the worst place possible, so I will never eat there. They put it in Times Square, and I'm just
Oh
like,
yeah.
for what?
Well, Jollibee is actually like not that expensive, so it's kind of interesting that you're probably gonna have to pay $24 for a 3-piece in Times Square.
Yeah, nah. Both locations are in. Apparently they have two locations now. And they're both in Times Square. Like it's kind of nuts. Like I'm never gonna eat in Times Square. Like you'll never catch me sitting down and eating in Times Square. Like
Yeah.
it's just not possible. I hate Times Square.
Uh,
Um,
I'm not fond of it either, but that's because like my anxiety goes crazy when I'm out there.
yeah, nah, it's not. There's too many people. Kind of get out the way. I work, I guess, in Times Square, so when I go out to lunch, it's like gotta go through mad people, get my lunch, walk all the way back. I'm like, this is not lit at all. This is
Mhm.
not the wave at all. But you know what? It is what it is. But yeah, prebiotic soda, man. Try it out at least. We still gotta do the soda taste test thing, but um
I would love to do that on like a Saturday where I don't have to like work or like I could just tweak out afterwards and
sure.
we do the soda taste test like maybe like early afternoon so that I can come down and like go to sleep not too late. Um yeah, like maybe like holiday season.
If Jules can provide a list of sodas, I will trust Jules, who's in our
Yeah.
Discord. Shout out to you.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah, Jules.
I would, if you can provide the list of sodas, like just give us the list and don't like throw it in Discord and leave it forever. Like actually like prepare a list, send it to me and Justin. I can find anything that we find. I will definitely do it. And maybe maybe Jules can come on too. But I will definitely like to do our soda. We've been trying to since we killed ourselves with actual chips and shit. Um, we've been trying to do that, but it is what it is. That's just how I'm living. Is anything new with you?
Yeah, we're I want to send a shout out to everybody that listened to and loved our AMP show, Black Print Radio on AMP. We were a little non-committal last week because we were still kind of getting the details of like what was going on with us as far as our show. And yeah, we're gonna have a final episode, Meelz, on the 25th.
On the 25th.
Yeah.
Wow.
So we're not obligated to do the show, so obviously there won't be a show for the next 2 weeks because we're not obligated to do so. But I do want to bring everybody out and tell everybody that did listen or didn't listen, to pull up on the 25th. We're going to try and have almost every guest, and we're going to pull up fans, and we're probably going to go long on this episode. Not going to lie, but we're going to have our final episode on the 25th. But just wanted to say thank you to everybody that's ever showed support and that's ever listened to Blackprint Radio.
And shout out to all the people who worked on AMP because back when it released, I thought it was an amazing idea. I guess the unfortunate part of it is that when the pandemic kind of like slipped off, just kind of like
Mhm.
it just didn't become what it was, but I still think it had amazing content between you guys. Shout out to Donnie Smooth he did his Wine Wednesdays on there as well. With like counter program with you guys. I would barely be able to listen to him. But um it had a lot of great creators and stuff like that, and like this once in the, where you can actually become like that, like as someone, both you and I have worked in radio, college radio before,
Mm-hmm.
like this was like the solution that back when we were there, we would have loved to have this.
Yep.
And maybe it came too late, maybe it came too early, but still it was like an amazing concept. And shout out to all the people were working on it, and and like you guys who were very consistent with it. Like, I applaud consistency.
Yes.
Multiple podcasts,
I'm
you
gonna make
don't.
sure that it's consistent. I'm gonna make sure it's consistent.
Absolutely. So I applaud the consistency and the work that you guys have done, and I look forward to um listening to more episodes of Black Print, because the podcast isn't going away. I assume.
No, podcast is not going away, but we got some other things we're planning, and
Okay.
you know, it's a it's something we're working on right now. So make sure you stay tuned us, and thank you guys for listening. And yeah, that's all that's been going on.
Okay.
I'm firmly ready for the fall, but California's not letting me. It's 90 degrees all week, so
No, it's very much 50 something degrees, 60 degrees here. It is fold up. You know what I'm saying? I had to find all my hoodies. I need more hoodies, man. But I need more hoodies. That's what I need.
I think I have too many.
Wow.
I have too many.
An embarrassment of riches,
Yeah,
unfortunately.
I had to give some away to my good friend Jen this week. She took a lot of my hoodies, so sorry, Meelz. You're too buff. You'd rip the hoodies that I had.
No, well, you can give them I give it to my niece. My niece loves hoodies. Like, I would give them all to my niece. All my hoodies that are too small for me, I give them to her anyway, because kids love wearing hoodies. I think it's a coping mechanism, to be honest with you.
Yeah,
I don't think they wear it for style. I think they wear it to feel like a turtle in a shell. Um,
I
because
I think
Go ahead.
everybody like kind of feels like that, And your nieces are like teenagers, right?
Yeah, 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 she's 14.
Yeah, that's like the look. I feel like that look has never changed, right? Like everyone loves to wear them, like you said, because they want to feel like they're like a turtle in a shell. But also, it's like
Right.
comfort. Like people be like, remember you used to put your hands in the sleeves, and you would just
Yeah.
just like whip you know what I mean? Like whip the sleeves around.
Right, right. Nah, I still do that, but I feel like, so it was because when I went to the school last year, like my niece is very particular. She needs a hoodie every day. Like, that's why, I mean, it's kind of outrageous now. Every day, like the rotation every day, it's part of her things. If she doesn't have a hoodie, she does not want to go. But which is a problem. But I was talking to the officials, and they're like, "Yeah, I think we're gonna ban hoodies next year, because the kids are just kind of they're like taking it to another level. Like, they weren't wear their actual uniform because we allow them to wear hoodies, and now it's like a
That's why
whole thing." Yeah, I thought it was, but I was like, I understand, because it's kind of like I'm like, bro, I love you guys. A crew neck or something. You know what I'm saying? Let's vary up the options, but hoodies are hoodies, man.
I'm
Can beat
getting
a good hoodie.
I'm getting into crew necks. One thing I thought was interesting in Japan is that people will wear crew necks of like states that they never been to. Like I saw somebody wearing a St. Louis crew neck, and like the Ohio State crew necks, and I was like, yo, they like anything. They can make anything stylish out
That
there.
shit must be fly. They were like St. Louis, Nelly,
Yeah, pretty
just like
much.
Nelly.
They know they really they in tune. They really in tune. Like people don't realize like they are tapped in with whatever we doing out here for sure.
Hey, man, I'm not surprised. If you got any listeners from Japan, you know what I'm saying? Hit us up.
We should
Um,
do more New Japan. Maybe we'll get more listeners that way. It'll be just me and Chris.
yeah.
But
Hey, no. Hey, man.
we got a lot to talk about today. Obviously, it's Super Tuesday. I want to review the offerings for Super Tuesday.
Okay.
I know that Cyrus and Quan will be talking about the shows at length. Obviously, they won't.
We doing the preview. They'll do the post view.
Yes,
Essentially,
yeah,
that's kind of how it's gonna work out.
that's what I was getting at. Yeah, well, we have we have the opportunity to record before this actually happens, and they're going to be able to tap in right afterward. But before we get into that, WWE Fastlane, a C show that felt like a B plus show in a lot of ways to me.
Mm,
Like it felt like upgraded super show. Now, I'm not saying this in a bad way. I thought
okay.
that for a Saturday show where you could just like have it on and I'm doing other stuff in the background, just having it on, like I thought that it fulfilled its purpose.
I think this is gonna go down as one of those pay-per-views where like I forgot this happened, but this is an enjoyable watch nonetheless. Like, you know what I'm saying?
I think
Like,
besides like two things that happened, probably like the main event and the opener, yes, for sure.
we're gonna look back a year from now and it was like John Cena was tagging with who?
I hope. I hope. I
Like, he was
really
tagging
hope.
with that nigga? Damn, he was down bad.
He got curtain jerking with the Miz. Anyway, I gotta shout out the Miz for being so malleable and
It was his birthday too. He's 43 years old now.
shout out to him. Happy birthday, Miz. But I gotta applaud him for being so malleable in the role that he's in and not really complaining about it. Because somehow the Miz always rises to the top. Like he
Yeah.
will always find himself back in the main event in some way, shape, or form, and he knows that it might not be my time right now, but it's gonna be my time soon. And like you could see like a lot of performers get really frustrated with like not having a match every week or not having a real solid program. But like
Sometimes
Miz,
they go to AEW, you know?
yeah, but Miz is like consistent in that like he actually makes a lot of things work, and like I see him being a lifer off of that alone.
I think he's very secure with his role. And I think a large part of it is while he does love wrestling, it's weird. It's like the dichotomy of like when you love wrestling, you're very, very passionate about it. And that's usually when all these kind of like emotions go up. And while he does love wrestling, I do believe he knows that there's things more bigger than wrestling that's out there. Um, so it's not his identity isn't completely grounded in wrestling, especially considering he came from reality TV. He still does reality TV. He has a great family. He has great things that he's invested in. He knocks down houses and builds them back up and then sell them to, people. He has a lot of things that he does, so he's not necessarily grounded in wrestling. So his whole identity isn't, grounded in this shit.
Yeah,
So, and then also he kind of like knows what role he fulfills on the show, and
yeah.
he knows that he does it well, and he's been told he does it well. So yeah,
I'm
shout out to Miz, man. I'm
giving
glad
this
you
my
brought it
boy,
up. Shit,
yeah, I'm giving your boy his flowers. I'm giving him his flowers.
I
Giving,
appreciate that. I
yeah.
appreciate that.
I would imagine that I hope you get one of my faves their flowers one day.
Shinsuke had a great match. Shinsuke did the damn thing. You know what I'm saying?
He did them knees. I said, yeah, he ain't working for another 4 weeks.
He gave the saddest. We're gonna talk about this later on the Patreon thing, but he gave the saddest GTS I've ever seen in my life. But go
Nigga,
ahead.
I'm tired. But listen, man. I thought it was a really solid show. I think the biggest news coming out of it is Cody and Jey winning the tag titles. I have to say that even with the pause, I guess, on the bloodline thing, I guess too tough, like the bigger, kind of wider. This is like the side story, like the Gaiden of the bloodline saga, where you're,
Mhm.
you're you're trying to integrate Cody back in some way, shape, or form, and you have Jey here. And I want to get your thoughts, and of course we're going to talk about the show later on the decision to kind of pull the trigger and have Cody his first championship since coming back be the tag titles.
Sorry. It's interesting, but I think it's all part of the story. I think this is and I think it's an interesting way. I don't think this was actually planned, but I do think it's all part of the story nonetheless, and it incorporates Cody into a bigger picture that I think Sami Zayn occupied for a long time. Um, it gives him an in with the kind of like the bloodline family, even though he's not totally in, but it gives him like when this comes back around, I think this is going to give him a different angle to kind of look at it at if this does come back around at WrestleMania. But I thought it was a great moment. Um, Press conference, great moment.
Mm-hmm.
And to be honest, he was working both shows anyway.
Yeah.
He was working like dark matches on SmackDown nonetheless and stuff like that. He's one of the hardest working people in the business. He just is. I, I think he takes it from the school of the Miz thing and doesn't really say no. If there's an opportunity, he's seizing it. You know what I'm saying? And this gives him the opportunity to be on SmackDown. Even if this reign doesn't last for a long time, it gives him the opportunity. Roman is on SmackDown this Friday. He can be on SmackDown this Friday. Hey,
I think they got to do it at some point. I think that the moment that they do the stare down, Meelz, is that's the moment, right? That's the holy shit. You know what I mean? Like
right.
that's they're gonna run it because these two haven't seen each other since April. You know what I mean? And he got pushed back down, and we'll talk about it on the show. But
Of
I
course,
do,
he'll get. I think he'll get. I think he'll get side things. Like someone will come up and pop out the way, and he'll get sidetracked again. But it's all part of the story.
yeah. You mentioned the press conference.
Mm.
Pretty lengthy press conference, I will say, this time. Usually they're about 45 minutes. This one was kind of like there was a lot of talent on the ones on the Fastlane press conference this time around. But I didn't get a chance to watch all of it, but I watched certain clips of it. And what is your thought process around doing these and continuing to do these scrums and press conferences? Because I'm not gonna lie, a lot of these seem really masturbatory, and I think that a lot of people that go to these don't often come prepared. And I don't care what they say on Twitter about they didn't get an opportunity to do whatever. One person's not going to make up for the 10, 12 bad questions that they get throughout the hour that they do these.
I like one. Yes, I do think it is self masturbatory. But also I do believe that this is an opportunity. I think there's more face like giving a face to the company and at least these superstars and a lot of the things that happen. And I think they realize, like for instance, with the NBA or NFL, like these things can help build up entities within the company. Give them a face, give them some, pull quotes that you can grab from, give them some that these people are actually people and they value things. And I'm not sure where all this press actually goes, to be honest with you. I haven't seen any article on wrestlingnews.net or wherever the hell they think building off of these quotes, but maybe that it's all really just part of show. Um, but I'm I get the publications they bring there,
Mm.
but some of these questions are kind of bad.
Be real. Yeah, I was
And
gonna say be real.
some of these questions are kind of bad. And um, I love how AEW fans were like, yo, you guys, I was like, we're not making this a tribalism thing about scrums and
But
questions
they
and stuff.
did. But they did. They found a way to do it. They found a
It's
way to
so
do it.
weird. It's so weird because to be honest with you, there are very few questions between this scrum and this press conference that I actually do find good. Um, and people asking legit questions. There are a handful of good questions in this one, but I think there are more good answers, even with terrible questions. Um, which I'll give the superstars a lot of credit for. I think John Cena, I'm sure LA Knight would have loved to spoken more, but John Cena answered a lot of questions, especially like, hey, if the strike is over, I'm pretty much being sucked back into my world because I can't have people, on my watch being out of jobs because I wanted to continue this wrestling dream for a couple more weeks. Um, Cody and Jey Uso seem to have a great time with it. Um, Triple H did Triple H thing, and of course Io Bailey and Dakota. Um, but we got to I think they need to revisit who they bring there.
Yeah.
And I think we need a rotation at least. I think there needs to be a rotation. I think they need to look at some better publications. I don't understand why, like for instance, I never hear anything about Sports Illustrated being there. They report on WWE all the time.
Yeah.
I
You,
never
you,
hear anything about Forbes being there. They report on WWE all the time.
you want real reporters there. You want real reporters to be on the show. That's
Yeah, get they're working with the Ringer. I know they get a lot of podcast guests over there, but it would be great to see Cal or Brian or any of those people like over there, like real journalists who ask real questions and who do the work, put the pen to the paper, put the voice to the mics, and actually there asking questions, as opposed to these people who play the role of journalists, say that they're journalists, and then ask questions like, I don't know. The Taylor Swift question was dumb.
It was that's what I was gonna get at. Like, and
I
then like
didn't.
went
I
on
I see
yeah,
why
like
he did it, but it was dumb.
wrong audience. I feel I mean honestly NFL probably the wrong audience too, but they finding they're finding a way there too. You know what I mean? They're getting tired of that shit too. But like it's just that was just disastrous. And I shout out to EO for being a good sport and also kind of like poking fun at it online as well. But I mean speaking of EO, wow, they see a lot in her. This ain't just the you said it last week. This ain't just a Money in the Bank run. She's had a title for a while.
Amen. No, I mean, I thought it. I still think it is kind of a Money in the Bank run, but I think this win was monumental in kind of changing that around. I
Yeah.
think a win over Charlotte Flair, pinning Charlotte Flair in a triple threat match, kind of like solidifies this as an actual run. Because I legitimately thought, I was like, okay, it's over. It's over. You know what I'm saying? And it still might be, but she's doing a great job, and I love that they have her. They don't let usually a lot of talent who English isn't their first language do really any press.
Yeah.
Um, but she's out there, and this isn't her first time, and she's doing it, and she's killing it. So
Notice
I'm
that
glad
she does a lot of she does a lot of Japanese press. A lot of it. Like it looks like she's out there every other week doing
Mhm.
press for Japanese outlets. And I think that's a different way that they're portraying this world's women's champion, right? Like same with Rhea, who's constantly worldwide going press. Was in Australia doing press and all of that. Like I think that the way they're portraying their women's champions and their global women's champions is quite a boon to what they did with what they're doing with the company now. And you saw them do the same with Bianca before. She took a break. She was doing press everywhere. She's still doing work, even though she's. Do you see her football ad on Instagram? Like all types of stuff.
Yeah, she's still recording shit. Like she can't get. They can't. God bless her.
She's good, man. She's a worker, and I think that every woman there kind of has to step their game up that much more to get to the type of press that Bianca was doing in 2022, 23.
I'm sure they want to. I think they. Um, I think everyone knows the company is behind Bianca and stuff like that. But I think all the other women want the same opportunity. Well, actually, no, I don't actually agree with that. There are two mindsets kind of going into WWE, and I think people like Bianca and Jade and stuff. Not saying that they're the only black women, but I think people see things bigger than wrestling, and then some people really just want to be like really just known wrestlers.
Yeah.
So I think if your aspirations lie beyond that, like for instance, like Liv, right?
Hmm.
Um, Liv, she'll do a movie, she's doing press, she's kind of like everywhere. Um, Barbie premiere, etc., etc. Like she's someone who I think wants to do things just beyond the squared circle, and they give her the opportunity to. Um, and then there are others who are just like maybe they're like the Candice LeRae and Indy Hartwells and Baileys who are like very content with just being wrestlers. And I think that's kind of like what they do. So I think everybody's got their own like, zhuzh in terms of how they handle this thing.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. I think that uh just the portrayal of that and this just being like really more global than ever with the Endeavor signing or the Endeavor merger rather. It says a lot. It says a lot. And again, EO's story is just being created. I feel as though Meelz, the real story with her doesn't actually happen until she loses that title. I
Of
think
course.
when she loses that title, that's when the real story happens, and you have the story of her regaining it. But we'll see what happens with that. But uh, I guess we got to talk about your boy Edge
Hey,
in AEW.
Mr.
Oh, I'm
Go
sorry,
fuck
Adam
yourself. Ha ha ha.
Adam Cope. He
Adam Cole.
debuted on Dynamite last week. Um,
You
Dynamite.
get into the numbers.
I have to. We have to. We
Okay.
literally have to get into the numbers because before we lead into Super Tuesday here. But Edge debuts. I went on the Discord. What was it? Wednesday afternoon, late Wednesday afternoon.
Yeah. I
Someone
know
just
what I was doing when the news came out. I was
it was
actually,
like
b- believe it or not, I was with Donnie. Shout out to our social media, Donnie. I was with him when the news came out. That is an interesting tidbit, but shout out to Donnie. Free Donnie. Um,
Edge's debut on AEW was on a episode that did 800K viewers. The
flat.
lowest flat 800. Meanwhile, NXT did 857K for a really good episode. I would say that the run that NXT is on is rivaling, in my opinion, is rivaling some of the Black and Gold stuff, some of the best episodes of Black and Gold. And let's be clear, Black and Gold TV was not always good. It,
No, it wasn't. It was
it,
taped.
it was a lot of squashes. Uh,
It was a lot of, you didn't get anything until they were actually building towards a pay-per-view.
yeah,
Like a lot of the times, like there would be, we would, people don't remember like back in the Black and Gold days. We'd look at the spoilers, and it's like
I'll
two
skip it.
weeks. Yeah, 2 weeks of this. Like, oh, okay, they're promoting Kona Reeves. You know what I'm saying? And then once we hear that a takeover was announced, then we see, oh, DIY is here and Aleister Black and Ricochet and blah 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 blah. Like, it would be skippable a lot of times. You just zoom through it on the network.
Yeah, pretty much. I will say that it is it's become, and I'll say my NXT thoughts for later, but it's become a show that's far more than just watchable, but it's become bankable.
Mm,
And it did nearly 900,000 last week. And I think that people are getting invested in these characters in a way that they're not with AEW. But we're talking about Adam Copeland here.
right.
He gets
I,
out
I
there,
wanted to make a point about NXT, but I'll save it for when we talk about Super Tuesday.
but what are your thoughts on really just the way that the perception of these numbers look for Adam Cole in general? I think that when
Adam
you
Copeland.
or Adam, yeah, whatever. I said Cole, didn't I?
You said Cole.
There's too many Adams with C's and P's in their name out here.
Yeah, listen, a couple Adams.
He debuts to a 20-minute promo almost that goes overrun with Christian coming out with all of the history and the talking, and he definitely got to do his Adam Copeland thing. Meelz, he
Of
did
course.
what he loves to do and what he loved to do in WWE. um
Be a humble humility, all that other shit like that. But
the great,
he's ready for action.
what are your thoughts on this first week and the perception of this first week and how that's moving?
So I'll start with the actual content itself. I like the go fuck yourself. I thought that was, I think you needed something short, sweet, and impactful and to the point. And I don't think you would have gotten it with, if you had pushed it back a little bit more, it wouldn't have hit as hard. And if if they'd gone, normally in this instance, AEW likes to do things where they'll just start a brawl. People just start fighting. Um, and it's good that they kind of like held back on that. And I attribute a lot of that to Edge and Christian. I'm gonna call him Edge. I don't give a fuck. I'm not gonna mess it up like you. But I'm gonna call him Edge. However, the perception is, it's a bad perception because they just signed someone, paid
Yeah,
him a bunch of money,
yeah.
and the only true narrative coming out of Wednesday is like, man, he's no CM Punk. I'm pretty sure he'll be better for the community. Like, he's not gonna start punching people out backstage, but
I think a lot of
that
it
man
is.
isn't a draw.
I think a lot of it is, and this kind of links to the Super Tuesday conversation, that like we just saw him on TV. It's not like fans had a chance to miss him. No one misses him. We just saw him. He played the Jay-Z "I'm about to retire" psych, and then he's back on TV
But I think a
already.
lot of AEW fans are disingenuous because they don't really like Edge. Not
No,
that they not that they don't clamor for Edge, which is like, he's a contributing factor to the show, and he can only bring good things to the show, I believe.
Mhm.
He takes up time, which is going to be interesting for a lot of the younger cats that they have here, especially moving in 2024 when a lot of contracts are going to be in limbo. But um, I think he's not a. I equated while Kenny Omega and Edge could be good. This isn't a match anyone's asking for.
Is
This
that
is
what
a match Edge is asking for.
you wanna see? Is that something
Yeah.
to see?
Could you live without it?
I could. I don't like,
I think most people could.
I think the "oh" of him taking a one-winged angel or a knee to the face is just
It's not there anymore. Because again, like you said, we just saw him, and we saw arguably the best of him. And now he enters AEW, and there are a lot of fresh matchups. And to be honest with you, he seems to be really the only one super excited about it, because the fan response hasn't met with kind of like who he is. The demand isn't there to see a lot more things. We know they're going to do the Edge and Christian thing. It kind of low key feels selfish now, in a sense, saying like, I want to come into this company basically because I want to retire with my friend.
yeah.
Also, I would love to give back. You know what I'm saying? I would love to be there for the kids, but the kids don't
Every
give a fuck.
everybody wanna help, everybody wanna give back.
Kids don't give a damn. There's some people who Julia Hart is 19 years old. Julia Hart's only major probably run with Edge is probably the one that just happened. Like,
Yeah, I mean, people still think that she's part of, like, Bret Hart's family, probably.
that's funny. But I don't know. Edge is the running narrative now is that he's not a draw, which is pretty bad. I mean, he didn't bring any viewers to Collision either.
The Collision, Jesus Christ. The Collision rating. And we not, like, rating Rondas here. We're just talking about it because, like, we have to kinda chronicle what's going on with this, but Collision doing like 348K is damning to that show. It has fallen off of a cliff since CM Punk left, and it wasn't really on. It was hanging on by the pinky onto the cliff before while he was there.
He didn't get down to 300K, but I believe that's probably because he got exited before any
Oh,
of that actually happened.
he got clipped or he fought his way out.
And which is good for him, to be honest with you, because they would have blamed. They were like, the CM Punk guy, not a draw like he used to be. I'm sure Meltzer and Alvarez couldn't wait to do that shit.
Yeah,
Now
for
we
sure.
now we blaming Edge.
Well, I mean, Meltzer's already like Edge ain't gonna change shit. I mean, but I mean,
But
it's
he's
what we said too.
yeah, it's what we said too. I don't think it's a yeah. I don't think it's.
This to me reads like Booker T going to Impact back in the day.
I'm getting my check.
You know what Meltzer compared it to? He compared it to Foley going to Impact back in the day.
I saw that. I saw that.
Yeah.
I think Edge. I think Edge called Christian and Chris Jericho and a couple other people, and they told him, "We get money over here. Come get you some." Because I just talked to TK. He's open to it, and I know your fee. Um,
No, he good. He good. He'll give you the money. Don't worry. He'll give you the money.
listen, he gave. Let me tell you what he gave Cesaro. Then you, I'm sure. Then
Oh, my stomach hurt. Think about what he gave us this summer.
bro, and Claudio just be on Rampage. I'm like, bro, you could have held out. You could have waited till this motherfucker was not that I want to see him starving or broke, but you could have waited till this nigga was really wanted a job.
Yeah.
I think that's what happened to Ember Moon, to be honest with you, because Ember Moon did not get signed quickly after she left WWE. She was actually not on the radar. And then I think after a while, shit picked up and they're like, okay, let's sign her. And now she's one of the biggest things. She's probably not getting paid as much as everybody else, but it is what it is. But yeah, the Edge shit is
it's tragic. It's
it
tragic.
is.
But
Adam Copeland is sad. The Adam Cole shit is sad.
oh, Adam
Adam Page,
Cole.
Adam Page shit is sad too.
Adam Cole is out for the rest of the year. He had pins and screws and a plate put in his ankle.
That's nuts.
I
I looked at Kofi Kingston jumping off the top rope last week in the same instance, and his foot did not shatter in a million pieces.
but I
But
think it comes from having that. Can I be like, okay, and maybe we need to get like a nutritionist or somebody who works out here, right?
sure,
But I would imagine that the fact that these people on AEW don't work often leads to these injuries, right? I feel like the only people that work weekly is like Mox. He's the only person that's actually kind of like working those muscles that need to be worked, actually getting out there, kind of working out, doing the cardio, all of that stuff while he's out there. Like, do you think that plays a factor in it? Is like the schedule? I'm not saying that like these people should be working like WWE schedule. Clearly I'm not saying that, but I'm like Adam Cole doesn't really wrestle super often, and maybe
yeah.
that was a contributing factor. How many matches he had this year? Like maybe 15. I don't know.
No, I mean, it's definitely possible. With Brian, it used to happen with Brian too. For a couple months after every big Brian match, he was getting injured. When you don't wrestle as much, your body isn't as warmed up as it used to be. That's why for Edge, he said, um, which I don't know if it's a true or a lie at this point. I don't know. He
He
says it
a
was
liar
getting
now.
harder.
He a liar now.
I don't know. It was the same thing. I'll say that it was the same thing with Goldberg too. Even though Goldberg is a very extreme point, it takes your body a while to warm up, to get back in shape, to be able to do this. And if you're not doing it as consistently as others, you're consistently getting cold and having to warm back up. And
Mhm.
I think in an instance, Adam Cole might have been cold in this instance. I don't know. I mean, it's a freak accident. He wasn't the only one who's hurt his foot jumping off the stage,
Yeah,
to be honest with you.
it's a freak accident,
Um,
but
yeah,
you gotta think like there's got to be something a little bit to that. You know what I mean? Like it's just so it's he has been the purveyor of bad luck for almost 2 years at this point. You know what I mean? Like
mhm,
every time he's about to get that push, he gets hurt, and you have to think that it's like you keep putting the guy in these positions. It's like does TK continue to kind of push the story in that way? Because now a lot of people aren't talking about this, but like that MJF story is blown up now. Like they have to completely rewrite this whole thing because I think
yeah.
because I think, and what I've heard is something that is not happening at that Full Gear show.
They should have saved Edge. I don't know. At this point, yeah, it's kind of the whole storyline that they banked on, the one great storyline that they have, the one shining moment. Because I've been getting ats on Twitter. I had time to argue yesterday, so excuse me if you saw my. If you're like, why you keep arguing with these people? I was like, I had time. I was
Yeah,
bored
that was wild.
because they're just like, yo, this has a lot of great stories, and I'm like, bro, there's just like one barely passable story. This is the oldest story in wrestling. They're friends, and one's gonna turn on each other, and then that's gonna be that. But it'll be interesting to see where it goes. Listen, Adam Cole might come back, and MJF might not even be there anymore.
He's gonna be there. I don't think MJF's leaving. Watch this.
Maybe.
Watch this clip be used against me in a year, but I don't think he's leaving.
I see it as a possibility. I see how they're shaking and moving over there. Um,
but
if
do he?
WWE wants to,
But do he see how they shaking and moving over there? That's the question.
hey man, you got the Code Man in there. You know what I'm saying? It's a. I think he should at least see. But hey, if he wants to stay in AEW and work the same guys he's worked with for the past number of years, go ahead. Um, Also, speaking of injuries, Kyle O'Reilly
Mm-hmm.
is a bad injury, man. He's recovering from his neck surgery, but then also got this other issue where he lost essentially the
Is that his
feeling.
heart monitor?
No. That's an iron going on in the background. Um, he lost the feeling in his arm and pretty much had to buy a device, an electrical impulse device, to pretty much shock his arm back into kind of thing. So he's going through it as well. I don't expect to see him back pretty soon, nor do I. I hope he's 100% if he does come back. Um, but that's crazy as well.
So for
And
Tuesday,
wait, before we go into Tuesday, Gotta
Yeah.
set the rumors. I just want to set the table for the rumors.
Okay.
I want to do this. Hashtag Punk Watch.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah. Forgot about him.
So there's been reports that CM Punk is in talks with WWE for a return. Survivor Series, I assume, would be a good date. I wouldn't, if he doesn't show up, I also wouldn't be surprised. But I think, what do you like? Just quick thoughts, because we'll head into Super Tuesday. Quick thoughts, like what do you foresee? And then there's the rumors of like he's got to make up with the big dogs. They don't really fuck with him over there, over
I think that's
in
cat.
WWE.
I think that part's cat. In fact, I've heard
Why
it's
you
cat.
said? Okay. You thought when he came back during the summer, he made up with all the big dogs?
Yeah, I think he did. I mean, we heard he did. You know what I mean? And I listen. Let's play. Let's do it. Let's see what happens.
CM Punk WWE. It could change up a lot leading into WrestleMania, to be honest with you. But I think he needs this as much as anybody to revitalize his reputation in the
Yeah.
wrestling business. So,
Yeah. Let's play. Let's do it.
but we'll see how it goes. I'm sure we'll hear bigger news when he eventually does sign.
Yeah. I mean, think of the year that WWE could have if he comes back, even if just in a limited capacity, which is what I'm probably will probably be. Probably no Saudi, but probably the Big Five. Um, just think about how. I mean, back in WWE 2K, that alone, it would be the best selling wrestling game that had of the past 10 years,
Mm-hmm.
in my opinion. If he's back in the game, 2K, the partnerships they could have, the partnerships that they would be open to doing now that he's back. You know what I mean? Just the collaborations he could do, the press that he could do. That he'd have to work for sure. He would be working. He would not only just kiss in the ring, but being the company guy would be the thing. And what interests me about the CM Punk return, Meelz, is that first promo and in those interviews subsequently after, when he has to explain why he came back and explain what the situation was. I think that to me is more interesting than whatever match that he could have.
Yeah, he's got a. After saying you left pro wrestling 15 years ago, and then you have to kind of like show back up. Be like, damn, I did say that. It'll be interesting to see how it does, but they'll make it happen. WWE is interesting in making the moment. They make the moment as big as possible. When the stars align, we'll be ready and we'll be cheering, and everyone will be like, "Oh my god, he's back again!" And they'll ask Tony about it at the scrub, and Tony will say, "Well, I wish him the best. Sad it couldn't work out
Oh,
here,
he's
but
not gonna say that. He's not gonna say anything. He's gonna say, "I don't know."
wow, it looks crazy." He's not gonna
It's
call him like a bald asshole.
it's
That's what
great.
he's gonna do.
It's great. Anyway, but I mean, again, like it is something where you know everyone comes back. You know what I'm saying? Like every single person comes back, and a huge get for Triple H and Nick Khan's regime. Vince didn't want to do it or wasn't able to do it during his time there or wasn't able to mend those fences. And if Triple H and Nick Khan were able to do that, then think about that, Mills. Like what a first kind of 2 years. You know what I mean? Like they say they judge you in like your first, your first 2 years or whatever of what you're doing. And they're bringing in more money and signing big time talent like Jay Cargill. Like if they were able to get Cody, Jade, Punk, all these people within a year and take all of them away from AEW and do all or break all these records and have all these big shows. That's huge. You know what I mean? I'm just interested in again how Punk is going to explain this because he was standing on business. He was standing on motherfucking business about WWE, and now I want to see what changed. So, yeah, I let's play. Let's see what happens. Let's see how they explain this.
I agree. I agree.
So this tonight, rather, when we're recording this for patrons, and when you're hearing this tomorrow, it will have already happened. NXT and AEW are going head to head for the first time in quite some time, and a lot has been made of it. So basically, what's happening is NXT is actually or NXT staying on the same date, but AEW has to move because it's being preempted by, is it MLB?
Yeah, I think so. I'll be honest, I don't know.
Yeah, I
But
don't know why either, but um,
hockey, baseball, pickleball, some shit.
hockey's done, so it'll have to be basketball or MLB. One of the
Nah,
two.
it's not basketball. Basketball's in preseason, so probably MLB. I mean, I would preempt shit for MLB.
I just asked the Discord. So AEW is moving to Tuesday for one. Oh yeah, it's MLB. Because it's the playoffs. But what is happening there is they're moving over to NXT's night, and it's becoming Title Tuesday. And the timeline of this Meelz is, again, take it or leave it, because people are being obtuse either way on both sides here, right? AEW moves, they name it Title Tuesday, and they put Edge's first match back on this Tuesday. Okay, or not for let me just first match in 90 days. We just be clear.
I mean, first match in AEW. How about that? His AEW debut.
Yeah, sure. We just saw him, by the way. We
We
literally
just he faced a bigger giant or
more
also
mobile,
old guy.
also old.
But
Yes.
yeah, it
Uh,
is what it is.
so they put these matches on the show, and WWE says, "Oh, word. Well, Cena's gonna be on the show, Asuka's gonna be on the show, and Cody's gonna be on the show." And AEW says, "Bet. Well, we're gonna put Bryan Danielson on the show as well, and we're gonna do all these things on the show." And then they're like, "All right, bet. Well, we're gonna make a commercial, and we're gonna put the Undertaker gong at the end, just to let you guys know that we got the nuclear button right here." And they said, "Nah, fuck that shit. Fuck y'all niggas." And then WWE said, "All right, bet. Well, we're gonna do the first 30 minutes uninterrupted." And then AEW says, "Well, fuck it. We're gonna do a long ass overrun, even though NXT already does long ass overruns. We're gonna do it too." So they said, "All right, fuck it. Then we're gonna do 30 minutes." Will Tony say, "Hey, can I please, pretty please, get 30 minutes uninterrupted?" And then WB said, "All right, bet you can do it. I don't know why you want to do this, but fine, sure, you can do it." So now you're looking at two shows that will be running from 8 o'clock to, oh, I'm sorry, AEW actually,
I was about to tell you.
AEW has a pre-show, by the way, that starts at 7:30 on YouTube, and it's going to have Minoru Suzuki versus Eddie Kingston. Which, I mean, has he ever been a draw in any sense? But whatever. And
Hey man, draw on YouTube.
I guess people will be looking at, oh, we're the 15,000 people are watching. That's already 15,000 more than NXT. I'm just like, wait, it's 7:30, but whatever. So they're gonna
I'm eating at 7:30. I don't know about the rest of these things.
so that they're gonna do that, and then so you're looking at now you're looking at nearly 3 hours of wrestling tonight, the night after 3 hours of wrestling.
This is my kind of petty.
Oh, it's not over. It's not over.
Oh, okay.
It's not over. And then Tony Khan starts going online and is like, well, replying to people, gifts of people, dissing Vince McMahon, dissing Hunter, dissing Sean, doing all this. They're like, oh man, he petty, bro. He the pettiest.
But the AEW fans were loving it. They're like, yeah, it's my fucking guy.
They forgot that the TV's been terrible. Like,
here's my thing though. It doesn't even seem like they care. I was arguing with someone who liked AEW, and he's like, the TV's awesome. I was like, what the fuck are you talking about, bro?
bro, QAnon, bro.
The picture of Ricky Starks right there.
How
He's holding up a championship to nobody.
you feeling? They
Might as
barely,
well have been the PC, bro.
I mean, they run in a house that has about that many people in there as the PC tonight.
Whole shows be dark. Rampage be dark as hell. It'd be just crowding everybody in the front like it's a fucking picture.
Yeah. So again, we're standing here at the precipice of another head to head. What do you feel about AEW's kind of stance here? I saw somebody say that AEW's working off house money, because if they lose, they could just say WWE overshadowed them with their star power, which
Yeah.
I have an opinion on that as well. If they win, then they topple them again. They did it again, and honestly, I feel like it's not really that way. I feel like it's lose lose in any sense of the way. I don't think they really have house money in any side here. Like if they lose this, it's because they tried to bang on them on their night and lost. Like there's no, I don't think there's any goalpost moving there. And if they win, you had to load up a show to beat the least watched show on of all of their shows.
I think the counter programming thing is just going to happen, and it's just what you do. These are two entities who are in competition with each other, and I would say NXT is more in competition with AEW than AEW would be in competition with Raw and or SmackDown. Because if SmackDown moved to Tuesday night, it would beat the shit out of AEW. If SmackDown moved to Wednesday night, it would beat the shit out of AEW. And it would do so on a weekly basis. However, with NXT, they have a little bit more of a chance. I personally, I have a couple things to kind of say about this, but from the AEW standpoint, good luck, man. I think you can't make up for weeks upon weeks of bad television and declining viewers and declining audience things with one night.
Mm-hmm.
I think we've been seeing, and to be honest with you, you see it literally across the pond with NXT. A lot of people wrote off NXT in 2021. A lot. People who love black and gold, people who love that kind of competition, fake love. It was AEW fans who fake love. The only reason they love them is because Adam Cole and Johnny Gargano and Tommaso Ciampa was there, like indie wrestlers. And WWE said, we're going to reboot the brand. We're going to feature a lot more developmental talent, and we're going to build them up so they can be the next stars of tomorrow. And everyone looked at it and said, P.U. And 2 years later, the development, the process, they stayed true to the process. They stayed true to development. And while they do feature a lot of main roster talent, it's the talent of it's people stay for the show.
Mm-hmm.
Becky Lynch is only on 1-2 segments of the show. Dominic Mysterio's in one match of the show. But there are about 7 other segments on the show which people stay tuned into. Because NXT don't do that skiing shit that fucking AEW does when they start at 900 and then end at 750. Like, they don't do that shit. It's proof that the development and the characters and everything works. People, gravitating towards Trick Williams, people gravitating towards Braun Breaker's new thing. Even Von Wagner. Wagner was on the first episode of 2.0. It was like, who the fuck is this guy? And
we said that. To be fair, we said the same about Braun Breaker.
Yes, but people are in love with him now, and it's a testament to like developing these characters and building them over time, which AEW hasn't done. I don't want to hear about Toni Storm. Toni Storm has a character, but there's nothing going on. Like she doesn't do anything on the show. She lives in her own universe. This is what you lambasted Cody for.
Yeah.
And you're about to do the same thing to Edge in like 2 months. Oof. Like, she doesn't do anything. She doesn't affect anything on the show. People just like gimmicks. And to be honest with you, if you like gimmicks, you probably should have spent more time with NXT. Because they got the boatload of them. NXT is loading up the shows. Yeah, go ahead.
I think on the other end, on the NXT side, it is quite clear that they have the hot hand and they're a hot brand right now. It is a younger brand, which, let's just be clear, like that is what the argument was. Remember, years ago, WWE so old. You have the youngest brand here. It is a bunch of Gen Zs and millennials on that show. It feels fresher. It feels more, in line with like what a lot of people really like from wrestling, and that's the character work. It's a lot of character work, and you get to see these people kind of develop that. Like, honestly, Toni Storm's character would probably do gangbusters on NXT 2.0 or 3.0, whatever the fuck it's on right now. They would do gangbusters there. Like, she would be one of the top female stars on that show, one of the top stars, period, if she had that character, because they would develop that a lot more and they would have something for her to do. other than people just loving her, getting like adding parts to her persona every single week because they remember that she's on there. But I think that with NXT, what they needed was someone to actually bring eyes to the product, and you get Becky Lynch to do that. I think that she has been an incredible advantage to that show, being the champion on that show. Then you have, let's be clear, Judgment Day need a lot of fucking a lot of recognition for what they did for NXT, especially Dom Mysterio. If he's on the show tonight, I think that they will win. I think that if either of those two are on the show tonight, Meelz, I think they're gonna win. Let's be clear. Like Dom Mysterio brings ratings
Yeah.
in.
Yeah.
Like I
Yeah.
think if the Judgment Day are on NXT, they are going to win tonight. That is the key. I fuck Cena, fuck all of them. Judgment Day needs to be on that show. And again, this is a hotter show that has given people a reason to be invested in it in a way that Dynamite just has not. Let's just be real. Like people are invested in NXT. And I think what's interesting with this show, and be clear, we don't know everything that's going to happen tonight. The only thing that has been announced is the Roxanne and Asuka match. Cena being in Carmelo Hayes' corner, Heyman being in Braun Breaker's corner for their match, Cody announcing something, and that's all we know. That is literally all we know. And I think that they have the opportunity to surprise people with things by keeping them, invested with surprises, with people showing up, with old NXT folks showing up. You know what I mean? I think that this is going to be super interesting. I mean, on the other end on Dynamite, Meelz, you do have Bryan versus Swerve. I think this is the first time match. You've got obviously Edge and Luchasaurus, which we talked about. But then after that, it kind of peters off for me. I think that these are not all strong matches. I mean, you got Hangman Page, I think, is working a match as well. But again, these are people that they've shown no interest in developing or actually giving people a reason to care. So I don't know. I really don't know how that's going to shake out. But I mean, AEW fans are a resilient bunch.
I'm looking forward to seeing what this kind of it's a good benchmark. Granted, there are a lot of main roster stars on it, but it's also, listen, we've talked about this all the time. WWE could do this whenever they wanted. Like,
Yeah, it ain't fair.
they could really do this whenever they wanted to. They could do it next Tuesday. I kind of low key feel like Undertaker will be involved with Halloween Havoc.
Oh, I
That's
didn't think
why.
about that.
Yeah, I thought he was going to be involved with Halloween Havoc, and this was going to be the introduction to it for the next 2 weeks. Um, Especially since next week is going to be taped, they can do a couple things over the next 2 weeks. Um,
That's actually a really good point, Meelz. That's a good
yeah,
aspect. You're right.
yeah, I thought he was going to be introduced there, so that's why they're going to introduce him. But again, it's the forward thinking thing of AEW. What does Bryan versus Swerve for the number one contendership for the TNT title do for Christian, who's currently in a feud with Edge and is the TNT champion? Uh, what is
I
Hangman Page versus? I mean, it's a great match. Hangman Page versus Jay White, like, great match on paper, but
no
I
one
don't
is
know.
Jay White. Nobody is
Yeah, and
Jay
then
White.
also kind of where are we going with Hangman Page? And also Hangman Page is 1/3 of ROH 6-man tag team champion. So, like, what about that? I don't know. It's a when I say the creative for AEW is kind of like all over the place. It's not just because I think it's whack, even though I do. Um, it's because they're not consistent with the things that they do at all, and they don't reward you for being a longtime fan. They don't reward you. The only person you've been rewarded with if you were an MJF fan from the beginning.
Yeah.
But realistically, like, you look at everybody, Sammy Guevara, we still spinning wheels with that one. Darby Allin still killing himself. He's not going to last for a long time. Don't even bother getting invested in that. Like, uh, Orange Cassidy is now teaming up with Hook for the tag team shits on Rampage. Like, what's the point? Like, what's the point of sitting down? I think that's the reason why. I mean, people are gonna blame DVR issues and sound issues and all the other shit that happened on Dynamite last week, but like,
No,
realistically, it should have
affected.
been bigger if Edge was there.
Yeah, it affected nothing. That shit affected nothing. Like it's gonna do what it's gonna do. I believe the show is still gonna fucking turn on at the same time anyway.
I
just
agree.
just ridiculous. But hey man, Meelz, we got to go over to Patreon to talk about our shows. Talk about Raw and SmackDown.
Absolutely. So let's do it.
So we of course we announced this a couple of weeks ago. We're gonna be doing weekly show reports on our Patreon. So you know a lot of people love our show reviews, and we get to get kind of a little bit more in depth with that. So for everyone that's listening, thank you guys for listening. And of course we're gonna go over to Patreon to talk about our shows. But until next week, thank you guys for listening to the A show and the public episode. And I want to let you guys know we're gonna be talking all about what happened on this monumental Tuesday next week, and we'll also be talking about what's coming down the pipe for WWE, including Crown Jewel and everything else that's coming out of that. Of course, there'll probably be more matches announced as they start to kind of make the push towards that and Survivor Series. Again, Meelz, a 2 month, a 2 pay-per-view month that we're coming up on. You know, they always struggle with these. They always do, and I feel
God,
like I'm scared about next month.
we'll see what happens at this point. There's nothing else. All they got to do is show us at this point. So it is what it is.
But they already have a big marquee match, so we'll see what happens there or what comes out of that. So thank you guys for listening to the A Show. For Meelz, I am Justin, and we're gonna go over to Patreon. We'll see you guys next week.